The Muffin Man was actually a serial killer. The Muffin Man is probably one of the most well-known nursery rhymes. But did you know it was based on a real story? A real dark story. In the 1800s, a man by the name of Frederick Thomas Linwood would wait in alleyways to kidnap and kill kids, luring them in with muffins. The song was later created to spread awareness amongst the kids and keep them safe, warning them about the Muffin Man, who was a danger on Drury Lane even though he was the first documented serial killer in the world. Everyone still teaches the song to their kids because not a lot of people know that the Muffin Man was.
This is True Crime by State. Today we are covering Arizona. I know everybody thought I was gonna do Jody on this, and I will do a video on her story, but this story floored me. This is the story of Phoenix, Arizona man Scott Falater, otherwise known as the Sleepwalker. On the night of January 16th, 1997, a neighbor wakes up to the sounds of screaming coming from next door. He then witnesses Scott dragging his wife of 20 years as her body lay lifeless and bloodied, and then pushes her head under the water of the backyard pool. Police rush to the scene and pull her out of the water and find that she had been stabbed 44 times. They find Scott right up the stairs and arrest him in the house and then usher his children to safety. The initial story, when he kind of comes to, is that he was in a deep state of sleepwalking. Okay, so you hear that and the first thing you think is, this is bull, this is bull. But corroborating reports from his family and friends do indicate that he has a severe struggle with sleepwalking, and his defense actually goes on to argue this in court to plead for his innocence. Although the defense testimony is compelling, there is a witness that comes forward that says he saw him trying to calm down the family dog during the murder, which they believe can essentially prove that he was conscious and aware. He's served with a life sentence, but to this day, he maintains that he has no memory of the attack. Shockingly, this is not the first case of homicidal sleepwalking, which is terrifying, but this one in particular definitely stands out for the state. And truthfully, we'll never actually know whether or not he was or wasn't sleepwalking that night.
Oh, you're so traumatized, it makes me want to cry. You dumb bitch.
The case referred to in that video was a case surrounding killer Nathaniel Barr Jonah. The one case I've never been able to get over. Nathaniel was a normal man who lived surrounded by several neighbors, but Nathaniel had a dark side. Nathaniel would kidnap and do terrible things to several different children. Zachary Ramsey would end up being one of the people that Nathaniel kidnapped that people made an uproar about. He was an entire movement and everyone was trying to find this lost child. Shockingly enough, a few days after Zachary had gone missing, Nathaniel decided to have a little bit of a party with his friends. He invited people over and he served up burgers and sandwiches and stuff like that, and it was just a good time. Now a little while passes again and the police begin to get involved with all of these missing children cases, and they pin down their prime suspect to be Nathaniel. So they take him into custody. But there's one part of this whole thing that I'm leaving out from you guys. Remember that party I told you about that he threw? Well, Nathaniel did not use regular burger meat or lunch meat for his sandwiches and burgers. Unfortunately, the meat that was used was the flesh of these young missing children. Thankfully though, at his trial, Nathaniel would be convicted of aggravated assault, kidnapping, and assault. He would then be sentenced to 130 years in prison. It's an extremely dark case, and now you understand why I made this video.
Did you lie and then I realized you're just as naive as I am.
Well, another body has been found in Lake Mead, the second in a week. Didn't I say this was just the beginning? To recap, Lake Mead is drying up at unprecedented rates since the area where it sits is having the worst drought in 1,200 years. And on top of that, Lake Mead is right next to Vegas, meaning for the last couple decades, it's been a dumping ground for the mob. And last week, a barrel was found washed up with a body from the 70s inside of it. There was not much left of the body that was just found, so determining the cause of death is going to be really hard on this one. But like I said in my last video about Lake Mead, this could still just be the beginning.
Would you lie and then I realized you're just as naive as I am. Oh, you're so traumatized, it makes me want to cry. You dumb bitch, I loved you, I loved you, I loved you, it's true. I wanted to be you and do what you do.
Okay, I just have to share something super quickly. I watched one of the new documentaries that came out on Netflix last night. I am telling you, this shook me to the core. This was hands down probably the best or one of the best Netflix documentaries I have ever watched. I'm truthfully not even a true crime kind of girl. You know me, I really like my paranormal, but the twists and turns this show took absolutely blew my mind. So give it a watch and let me know in the comments how you feel, because I was literally crying in the club afterwards. Not even kidding.
So whatever happened to Jeffrey Dahmer's apartment at the Oxford Apartments? If you don't remember, this is where Jeffrey Dahmer was eventually caught, and this is where they found all of the gruesome discoveries associated with Jeffrey Dahmer. It's absolutely eerie to look at photos of his apartment and consider what they found in there. But what happened to the building, the Oxford Apartments building? Well, obviously after investigators discovered what they did in Jeffrey's apartment, the place was stained forever. And so shortly after all this happened, the apartments, the entire complex, they were demolished. And nowadays, all that's left is this patch of grass where the apartments once stood. It's gotta be eerie living in one of these units and knowing exactly what happened right here. I actually went and filmed a whole Jeffrey Dahmer documentary where we visited the old Oxford Apartments area and investigated for paranormal activity. Let me tell you, that place is loaded with energy. At one point, using our devices, we captured what looked like bodies laying on the ground, like 3 or 4 of them. And I think at one point, using one of our devices, we literally heard the voice of Jeffrey Dahmer coming through. I'm not kidding, I know that sounds really extreme, but you have to listen to the video and just see what I'm talking about. Anyways, it's called The Ghost of Jeffrey Dahmer if you want to look it up and learn more about the Jeffrey Dahmer story. And my wife and I actually did a whole Dahmer series on our podcast, Murder in America, if you want to listen to what I'm talking about.
These are some of the most gruesome murders ever committed, Part 1. The case of Lisa Montgomery, otherwise known as the Womb Raider. Lisa Montgomery, who was a 43-year-old woman, was the first lady ever to be executed after being sentenced to 67 years in prison for committing a murder that literally shocked America. In 2004, Montgomery was sentenced to life after murdering a young woman named Bobby Jo Sinnett and then moving on to cutting open her stomach, removing her womb and her baby using a kitchen knife. See, Montgomery had claimed for a long time that she couldn't have kids, so she befriended Sinnett thinking that she could take her baby. So what she did was showed up at her house, strangled her with a rope, and proceeded to cut her open. The dead body was actually discovered by Sinnett's mother, who walked into a bloody pile and claimed her daughter looked like she had just exploded. But even after all that, the baby did survive and was returned to her father, where she is now about to turn 16 years old. That's insane.
Casey Keyes was found guilty in faking her son's illness in order to get money from a fundraiser from people who were willing to donate. The child was born in 2009 and apparently was 100% healthy. Over the years, Casey went to multiple doctors and claimed that her son was sick, however they did not find anything. After her divorce in 2012, the mother claimed that her son had issues eating, using his hands, talking, and controlling his bowels. The father of her child reportedly did not witness the same thing, and for 4 years, Casey had her son hooked up to a feeding tube, however didn't give him the proper nutrients he required with a feeding tube, and that actually caused him to have an illness causing his hair to fall out and etc. Thankfully, in 2019 she was arrested and given 6 counts of CA, and there is a possibility she might receive life in prison.
This is the incredible true crime of Brooke Buttbuster Taylor. In October of 1999, Brooke Taylor was a high school graduate with $25 and a dream. She moved to Los Angeles to pursue yoga instruction. She would become a fitness sensation overnight with her mega popular instructional workout tape, Brooke's Buttbuster Workout. Allegedly, it can make you go from a size 6 to a 4. In May of 2001, Brooke Taylor met millionaire Hayworth Wyndham and instantly fell in love with the dried-up old raisin. On July 5th, 2001, Hayworth Wyndham was returning home from a prune drinking conference when he entered his foyer to the unfortunate sounds of a bang,
he would tragically be pew-pewed in the face. His daughter, Chutney Wyndham, would allege that Brooke Taylor was the one who pew-pewed him in the face. With Chutney's testimony, along with pool maintenance man Enrique and Chuck, who was just a friend, Brooke was found guilty of first-degree unaliving. Brooke's attorney, Dr. Creepathan Callahan, alleges that Brooke maintained her innocence, and she refused to give an alibi. Not even to Harvard Law intern and last season Prada shoe wearer, Elle Woods, who took her fitness class in LA. To this day, Brooke Taylor remains locked up in Harvard School of Jail. So who do you think unalived Hayworth Wyndham? Was it Brooke Taylor all along, who grew tired of riding ancient pole and traded it in for a life of parole? Or could it have been Chutney Wyndham, the perm-rocking daughter of Hayworth, who intended to do per-minute damage on her own father? Must have been all that ammonium thioglycolate. What about Enrique, the pool boy? You know he did leave that share tape in the pool house one time. Or could it have been Gemini vegetarian Elle Woods, whose pressure to get into Harvard Law eventually led her to bend and snap? Or was it something else?
On June 26, 2019, 21-year-old college student Jordan Lindsay was on a dream vacation with her family in the Bahamas. On the morning of the 26th, the group had woke up, they were looking for something to do, and they came across this tour company that would take them out on an excursion to nearby Rose Island, which is an island famous for its beautiful snorkeling, and there are apparently these swimming pigs that you can swim with and pet. So they decide that sounds really fun, and so they book it, and by early that afternoon, they are on Rose Island. Now, once they get there, the group decides to split up. Cammie, the mother, and Jordan, the oldest daughter, they're going to go snorkeling, where Michael, the father, is going to take the rest of the family to a different part of the island, and they're going to go check out these swimming pigs. So at about 1:15 p.m., Cammie and Jordan get in the water. They begin snorkeling. It's just the two of them out there. It's a beautiful time. They're looking at all these beautiful fish. And they do this for about 45 minutes until Cammie hears her daughter Jordan yell, "Mom!" And Cammie looks up, and initially she thinks, oh, cool, a pod of dolphins is surrounding my daughter. She sees three large black shapes swimming around Jordan. But immediately she realizes these are not dolphins, because Jordan begins screaming bloody murder, and the water all around Jordan turns completely red. Cammie wastes no time. She immediately begins swimming as fast as she can over to her daughter, and she's screaming at Jordan, "Jordan, swim to me, swim to me." And Jordan is trying to swim to her, but Cammie can see she's having a really difficult time swimming. And the reason for that is Jordan's right arm was completely severed. It had been ripped off. These were not dolphins. It was 3 tiger sharks that were all now in a frenzy around her daughter. Cammie reaches her daughter pretty quickly. They were only a few meters apart. She grabs her daughter, and she's trying to swim her daughter back into shore while simultaneously punch these sharks in the nose. And then Jordan says, "Mom, there's another shark coming." She can see it. And then it launches this vicious attack on Jordan's leg. It rips off a huge piece of her leg. Some reports even say that it severed her leg, but I can't verify that. But it rips off a huge chunk of her leg, and Jordan wouldn't say anything after that. She was in shock at that point. She was losing consciousness. But Cammie is able to get her daughter back to shore. By this time, the sharks have savaged both of her legs, both of her arms, although the only limb that for sure was missing completely was her right arm. And she gets her back to shore. They call the tour company. The tour company shows up, but they can't provide any help because they don't have any medical equipment, and Jordan would die on the tour boat that day.
Maggie, come quick! Father's dead. Someone's come in and killed him.
Hey guys, today we'll be talking about a case that was brought to my attention. TJ Davis was a 20-year-old boy who attended Calvary Baptist Church. Everyone called him his nickname TJ except his mother. His mother called him Bubba. On Sunday, August 29th, 2021, TJ's mother received a knock at her door at 3:30 in the morning. Immediately when police asked to come inside, she knew something bad had happened. Police stated that they found his body in the Mississippi River. However, they did not retrieve his body until 11:11 a.m. that same morning. That means it took them almost 9 hours to retrieve the body. Why it took so long, I have no idea. According to TJ's mother, he had went into the tunnel of the Mississippi River with 4 other white individuals. All 4 of the other individuals left unharmed, and with that being said, his mother states that things are just not adding up, and she did ask police to have the body cam footage. However, they were refusing to release it to her and would not let her see her own son's body. I have tagged her account, so if you guys have any information, please reach out to her. I will see you guys next time.
Is so